Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another YouTube video. So today, again, we've got a lot to talk about. I think there's obviously the saying that goes, some things take weeks or months to play out, and sometimes you get weeks and months of news happening in a day. Well, it goes something like that. It's not exactly right, so don't quote me on that one, but let's get into the action. Tons happening, as I said, in the last couple of days. We've got 4 or 5 different news stories I want to report on. I'm going to talk about then XRP. I'm going to talk about some developments that Ripple and XRP specifically and together have been that have come out over the last few days, and a little bit of price action, but not too much TA today. We've got some liquidity and some different price levels I want to talk to you about, but I'm going to really get into that in the newsletter that comes out tomorrow. Which actually, by the way, guys, is now 79th on the rising section on Substack. So thank you everyone who subscribes. Let me just show you this. I was actually buzzing when I checked that this morning. 79th on the rising section. So thank you for that. Over 2,000 subscribers now. But then I was having a bit of a bitch. I was actually on FaceTime to my sister, and I said, it's not really very fair because I reckon a lot of people must pay for distribution of their newsletter, and because a lot of the people in the top 100 I'd never seen before, and I was like, oh, why aren't we in the top 100? I publish every week, and maybe it's a bit woe is me, but I didn't mean it like that. We were kind of joking around. And then we're 98th. We're 98th on the world bestsellers for crypto newsletters. Let's go. Thank you everyone who subscribed. I was buzzing when I saw that. So yeah, if you do want to sub, it's free. It's completely free. Substack always tries to charge people and even sends people emails saying, 20% off the premium version. We don't have a premium version, so if you pay, you're not going to get any upgrade. I'll give all the information away for free. So yeah, free subscription in the news, in the link to the description of this video. Let's get into a lot of the news. So just some general news, and then some more specific to Ripple and XRP. So this is Ziad Youssef. He is the chairman of Reform. And yesterday at the Bitcoin conference, Nigel Farage spoke, and I'm going to keep this politically neutral as I can. So I'm not saying I'm for or against Reform. I follow Farage and I follow Ziad because I like to keep up to date with the UK politics. But they talked about a bill that they're introducing, or if they get into power, they'll introduce, that cuts capital gains tax on crypto to 10%, makes it illegal for banks to restrict services for customers who use crypto, a 2-year regulatory sandbox for companies in crypto, establish a Bitcoin reserve fund in the strategic reserve fund in the UK, and upgrade HMRC so you can pay your taxes in crypto. I think this is fantastic step forwards in legislation and what's the word? Acceptance or recognition for the crypto as an asset class. For too long, we've been belittled, called frauds, blocked, debanked, all of this sort of stuff just because we wanted to spend our money wherever we wanted to spend it. And I've always had the argument that if you've earned your own money, which we all have, and you want to buy 1 million bottle caps with all your money, then you can. But if you want to buy crypto, you're not allowed, which makes no sense to me and never has. So the 7 million people in the UK holding crypto, or 1 in 4 Brits aged 18 to 34, I think this is going to really appeal to them. And then I actually made a tweet saying, look, one of the 2 things this is going to do is, 1, really boost the popularity of Reform, because all of those crypto people are probably feeling very similar to me, very despondent towards the political structure and how everyone's basically hating on crypto and you for investing in it, even if you want to. So that's going to boost the popularity. Or 2, at least bring this to the forefront of all parties to have a discussion on this matter. And it's something we've needed for a long time. I think 10% capital gains tax makes sense. Maybe slightly lower. If I was going to be in the political race, which I'm obviously not, I'd probably go between 5 and 7. I think that the legacy behind the banking structure and the safety and regulation in the UK does deserve some extra tax potentially to emerging economies, and in that bracket I'll put places like where I live now, like Dubai, just because of the historic value. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, I'm just saying that they just got more established laws and systems, but I do think that 24% is way too high, when personally anyway, and it, as well as the vindication of anyone who literally holds the asset. So I think 10% is quite the sweet spot. I think it's probably a little bit too high, but it's still way more attractive than 24%. And it would make me reconsider at least have like off-ramping some crypto in the UK. And I think it's about the only way. I think a more sensible way to do it would be just a 10% like an exit fee. If you withdraw from an exchange, maybe capital on the gain specifically is probably more sensible actually. So 10% is probably about right, but I think obviously only when you cash out, then it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. That's my political thoughts and discussion on that. You don't have to agree with me in that sense. That's fine. Yesterday we also saw PSG announce a Bitcoin Treasury Reserve, which I think's incredible. I think it opens the door for all these sports clubs in the world to start doing things like this. We know some athletes take their payments in crypto and Bitcoin in the US, and I presume we'll probably see that accelerate. I think it's great because it just means that more people are going to try and take supply off the market, which is great for us if you're a bag holder, and it gives, again, more recognition to the asset class itself. This is happening today. FTX are going to begin distributing 5 billion in stablecoins to creditors today. Could this be a catalyst for an upside move? It's in stables, so that's why I think that it could be a potential positive catalyst. It's always a buy the rumor, sell the news sort of thing, so there's a bit of a sell-off this morning. But I'm going to get into that, as I said, in more detail in the newsletter and in this video. I essentially think the sell-off today is a bit of a shakeout before we go parabolic, genuinely. So yeah, there's that to keep your eye on as well. And now getting into XRP and Ripple. Like the last 24 hours have been pretty crazy. If you've not seen my X feed, I've been trying to keep up with everything and tweeting about it. Essentially, we've seen Vivo Power, Weebus International, and Hyperscale all say they're going to commit some capital towards an XRP treasury. I think Hyperscale said that they were going to put 10 million. This says 75. I'm pretty sure I read 10 million, so I could be wrong. This is Grok. Weebus said 300 million as strategic financing plan. But the XRP treasury allocation is not yet detailed. And Vivo Power said 121 million. That was the one that had a lot of news with Brad Garlinghouse retweeting it, unretweeting it, and then retweeting it again, with this potential of a Saudi prince's involvement in that as well. So all very exciting news. The Digital Commodity Capital Corporation actually first announced this back in March, but we've yet to see them actually buy anything as well. So a very exciting day. Like, it seems to be the new trend is like treasuries in XRP for companies, and I presume we'll see more than that, but that's definitely very exciting if you're an XRP holder. Next, we've got to talk about this from vision to realization, tokenizing real estate on the XRP ledger. I'm not going to play Jesse's little clip here because I've shown it over there on X, and I'm conscious of the time of this YouTube video, but essentially we're talking about real world asset tokenization is now live across every major region. North America and Europe, tokenized treasuries, money market funds used by corporate treasuries to optimize returns and liquidity. Latin America, we're seeing increasing transaction with tokenized agricultural finance, such as securitized agri receivables. Southeast Asia, trade receivables and structured lending. In MENA, real estate stands out as the most in-demand asset class for tokenization, and Dubai's progressive regulatory stand towards a forward-thinking ecosystem. They talk about Colombia's land registration with Peersys, if you remember that, guys. The Hong Kong property market lending. This was a pilot. I remember this with the e-Hong Kong dollar. And the recent Dubai title deed tokenization. Looking for about 16 billion by 2026, I think that was. But that's, again, very exciting. The Dubai ecosystem across public institutions, regulators, and industry leaders is collaborating from day one to design a model that scales. Legal clarity, technical infrastructure, and ecosystem alignment are all built concurrently. And then they talk about what's going to go on next. It's very exciting. It's very exciting. The work in Dubai is a significant next step. It has the potential to be the world's first fully scaled, regulator-approved real estate tokenization initiative, and one that sets a new global benchmark. And there's the title of my video, I think, guys. Not only this, but then Ripple also released this on the 29th, which was yesterday. I was going to talk about it yesterday and I forgot. A guide to cross-border payments. And why is this exciting? Well, I'm going to show you a few things in it. Like obviously it talks about cross-border payments generally, which I don't need to discuss to you guys about the price of cross-border payments. That's why we're all here for XRP in the first place. Price, speed, efficiency of cross-border payments is what we all got in here. But the thing I wanted to just talk to you guys about is these like subliminal sort of like messages. It's like it's automated clearinghouse, and then recently you've seen obviously Ripple buy Hidden Road, which is a clearinghouse essentially. There's also speculation around the DTCC with Ripple, and we've also seen speculation recently or discussion from, I think it was the Fed, talking about stable coins, and RLUSD was one suggested on there. Wire transfers, we've seen Ripple's partnerships with MoneyGram in the past, obviously before the SEC lawsuit. So this is talking about Swift as well, and I think that this will probably move forwards as things start to unveil in the wider space. Card payments I've not actually seen much of on the XRPL, but it makes more sense for a card payment on the XRPL than it does with something like Bitcoin, obviously. Money transfer operators, again, this is probably a pretty obvious one. Maybe this is a more my brain's not working very well this morning, sorry guys, but more relatable to MoneyGram than a wire transfer, because we are looking to compete with Swift, obviously. That's what Ripple were trying to do in the first place. So money transfer operators are probably more relatable to people like MoneyGram. And then crypto payments, obviously, don't need to talk about that. And then talks about cross-border payments and the benefits of cross-border payments. I just think it's interesting that they're then releasing this now, almost reaffirming the original message of cross-border payments, while all this extra stuff is coming out for the XRP Ledger. At the same time as you're getting these treasuries being announced for the XRP Ledger as well, I think it's getting super exciting for XRP. And Brad's been talking about XRP ETFs. I think the next leg up for XRP is ready, and I also think the narrative is ready and set as well. So technically and fundamentally, I think we're set up for this next rally. That being said, looking at liquidity pools and technical structure of Bitcoin, I'm just going to discuss this with you now. So recently we've seen more liquidity be added above us. A technical level that I think would provide clear support is the fixed range volume profile here comes in at about 104. It's like 103.6 for Bitcoin. Could come down and touch that. Although I do think if we do get to that level, it would make sense for us to sweep the 100K liquidity that I've been talking to you guys about for a while. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying, and this is what I'm going to discuss mainly in the newsletter this week, if we get that sweep, where to position yourself and what I'm doing personally. But I'm not saying we will, because what we do as traders, we look for the best opportunities. If we get that sweep, then take a position, in my opinion. But until then, we just need to sit pretty in spot. Unless you keep getting like money coming every month, you can start to dollar cost average. I think this is a good price to be dollar cost averaging. And if you've got capital sitting on the side like I have, I'm going to be plowing it into altcoins at this level here, about 100K. There is a little bit more liquidity down like 94K, but nothing significant compared to like the two liquidity patches above us. And you can clearly see here that above us is building and building and building, even more so than that 100K level. So they're the things to take into consideration. We've shown different paths of how we can get there. I'm just keeping my eye on it. I will be deploying heavily into alts at 100K. Until then, I'm basically just sitting pretty, not doing too much. And that kind of aligns with the structure that we've had drawn in here. We had this previous resistance. We stopped out 104. It's exactly what I said we would do because of where previous liquidity was. And essentially now we could be coming back to test the 104 region again before continuation to the upside. Do we get the sweep below to 100K, just sweep these lows here, everyone will probably start to change their narrative. It will be fantastic. We'll probably see that liquidity above us really start to change, and then potentially a leg up. I want to show you XRP, but then I don't want to ruin the newsletter, so I'm not going to show you XRP. I'm going to discuss with you XRP ETH. XRP ETH is still at this level, and again, actually, I'm going to leave it with a bit of a teaser there on XRP ETH for you, because I've got a teaser for you that aligns with my thought processes there that come into the newsletter this week. XRP Bitcoin, literally sitting at the range lows. We said we thought we'd sweep these lows and then potentially continue higher. Again, are we seeing... We're just waiting for this low to be put in. I'm trying to guesstimate for you where I think it could come in. Potential bullish divergence. We've discussed this every day for weeks. For probably weeks now. We're looking for this bullish divergence to play out. Higher low on the RSI and a lower low in price action would be perfect. Reversal territory, especially after sweeping the bottom of the range, which is exactly what we discussed would happen. We just need to see this reversal now, and that's what I'm looking for. So they're all my thoughts. Narrative set up for bullish price action. Price is short term, potentially waiting for one more thing, flush out, or ready to go up from here, to be completely honest with you. And that's why I'm not committing to anything, because I've shown you exactly why I'm not committing to anything, because we can see feasible areas of support and liquidity below us before a potential move up, and I'm not going to take any extra risk until we hit those areas. And if we hit those areas, I'll come out on here and I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing, and I'm going to be taking leverage positions, and I'm going to be buying some spot altcoins as well, because we've talked about Bitcoin dominance as well. Let's just take one last look at that before we end this video today. It's fighting its retracement levels again on the daily time frame. Is not breaking above retracement levels as of yet. It's weird because on the daily it has different retracement levels, and it doesn't, like the 4 hour, for example. But we bounced off the 702, we rejected it. Is it going to get the final squeeze into this previous alt season area that we've had drawn out for, well, forever, pretty much, for 6-7 years? Or have we put in that local top, and are we going to then continue to see alts outperform from this area? There are a lot of things saying that the top is close, or if not in, for Bitcoin dominance. But then, as I said to you, I have always said that it normally starts from the grey box when we were like 0.3% away. So I would never rule that out. So that's exactly where I'm sitting. I know it's a little bit wishy-washy today, a bit flip-floppy, but you can see we have a plan for whatever happens. And in this period, I think if you're trading like aggressively in this period, you're taking more risk than I think the reward is worth. If we get the pullback, then we go in heavy, and if we don't, we sit and say thank you very much, let's go to the upside, and we'll take some profits when we hit our upside targets. That's exactly where I'm sitting today. But I hope from the news and the technicals you're getting pretty excited, just as I am. I hope you can tell from my animated voice, and if we continue down a little bit more, I'm going to get even more excited, because I think the sentiment's going to start changing, and I'm going to be like, this is perfect setup for me, and I'm going to deploy heavily. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Please do subscribe to the newsletter, and do share this with a friend. If you want to trade leverage, when we take these positions, I've got a WeX link in the description below as well. They're a non-KYC exchange if you've not used them before. With all that being said, guys, thank you for watching. Peace up, A-Town down, Crypto Insight UK would say.